Welcome back to another coffee break. Today we'll actually be going international, all the way to the Philippines. This is take 2 because we had some technical difficulties in the beginning. But we will be having a guest on today to discuss their experiences, their life growing up, and the move here to America from the Philippines. All of that juiciness. But I'm your host, Roland.
And I'm Kevin.
And today we got our names right. So before we introduce Jordan, just want to say thank you again for coming on. Much appreciated. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Jordan. I am from the Philippines. Roland ordered me prime shipping. I arrived here yesterday. Hopefully I don't get sent back by tomorrow. Thank you for the opportunity, Roland. It means a lot. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see.
Please give me a worker's visa, please, Roland. My family is starving.
I'm gonna stay in the U.S.
My family is starving, Roland.
Cut. No, okay. Yeah. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the podcast, let's go ahead and hit the nail on the head with the most boring segment right now of the podcast and discuss what we're drinking. I haven't subscribed to a coffee service just yet. I'm gonna wait until I move into the new place before I do that. But since we have somebody new on the podcast, we can ask you, Jordan, what are you drinking?
Today I am drinking green tea. Yes, it's almost done though, because take 2, baby. So green tea with honey. I do not
have... honey. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I don't have a... I forgot the word for it. I microwave my tea because I don't have
you don't have a brewer?
For it. Yeah, I haven't bought it yet because we're moving soon, so I'll buy it when I move.
All right, well, that's good to hear.
I'm actually curious. What do most people in the is there any different morning rituals in the Philippines?
That's one thing I'm gonna tell you later that you'll be shocked.
Yeah, that's definitely
Roland's
something.
gonna be like, wow, okay.
That's definitely
especially Roland.
That is,
especially Roland.
That's on the list. So all right. Well, that's good to hear. At least you're drinking something with caffeine in the morning. We don't have to throw you off the podcast at this particular moment.
Thank you. Thank you. My family's living in a two-story storage unit. Please don't kick me out. I need this really bad.
So
this is his make it or break it right here.
Yeah, this is it, bro.
So we went off on a whole rant on how much we dislike Starbucks and what was it, Dunkin',
yeah,
on our first take, which wasn't recorded. So we'll save everyone's ears. We'll just say we are not fans of Starbucks or Dunkin', and leave it at that.
I'm a fan of Starbucks. Thank you.
I think we can all agree Starbucks is better than Dunkin', though.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Dunkin' is McDonald's, Starbucks
Roland,
you have to pick one.
I don't know if I have to.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to. I don't want to set
you gotta pick one.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll think about it. I refuse.
Next week it's gonna be, my name is Roland and this is Kevin.
All right, so let's just get right back into it. And Jordan, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your upbringing, how much time you spent in the Philippines before moving to America, and what that was like, the transition, and then just to give us some context and how much time you actually had in the Philippines, and go from there.
So I was born and raised in Manila. I forgot the specific name of the hospital, but the main city. I lived with my dad. My mom and my dad were divorced when I was, because in a young age, not because I was born, they got divorced. Yeah,
that'd be tragic.
I don't know.
Yeah, pretty shitty to be honest. Anyway, so I was living with my dad, and my mom had plans for my brother and I to move to the U.S. when I was 8, and I forgot how old my brother was. So when I turned 8 or 9, we flew to New York, and during that time, I thought, okay, this was it. We have to adjust. You know, I didn't know English. My brother did not know English. He was a high schooler. I was in like grade school, and it was really hard for him, I would say. For me, I was adjusting. I was making friends. My brother, not so much. He was stuck on I miss my friends from the Philippines. So
How old was he?
he was like 18, 17, 18.
Okay.
And during that time, it was my brother's personality is more of a, I don't like it, I'm not gonna do it. So it fell on my mom, and my mom, a single mother, working night shifts, day shifts, as an RN, it took a toll on her. So she's like, I have to send you back. Prime shipping to the Philippines. And so yeah, we did not last in New York for more than a year. It was 8 to 9 months, and then we were back to where we started. And then during that time, I was back with my dad for a year and a half or so. And during this time, it was just a bunch of things. Hey, my dad was like, hey, I don't have money. I can't send you to school because the schools were private. Wow. And then I was like, okay. Well, he was like, oh, live with your aunt, which is my mom's sisters. So I moved in with her. So we were doing that for a couple years. I went back to school. I was a grade behind. And back in 2008, when I was 13 years old, so 5 years passed, my mom was like, all right, it's time for them to come out here again. So we moved, and I was in middle school in the end. It was the last 2 months of 7th grade, and then I was adjusting, and then that's about it. After that, just here I am. I didn't get shipped back, thank God. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Okay. So let me. I'm curious. All right. Actually,
Yes.
kind of going back to what we were just talking about just a few minutes ago. What's coffee like in the Philippines? What are you drinking, and what's the norm over there?
So the norm is the basic everyday household. Your middle income, you know, and you're at home drinking your coffee. But this coffee is not brewed. It's not how fancy people do it here. People over there, it's a instant coffee.
Oh, okay.
It's instant coffee, and that's considered like, okay, you do instant coffee, that's normal. And this is paired with rice and Spam and eggs and hot dogs in the morning, by the way. It's not just coffee. They eat all day long with rice.
Oh, okay.
So over there, so that's like the normal is like you make coffee at home. And if you're middle class or like, you know, like you got it going on, you go to Starbucks and you show off that you get Starbucks.
Oh, so they have Starbucks over there, like.
Oh yes, Kevin. No, they go to.
Well, I'm thinking of. I guess like.
Yeah,
that, like,
do they have McDonald's there too?
Bro,
I'm sure in Manila, but like does the other parts of the Philippines have Starbucks?
I think certain areas, if there's demand, they would provide it. But yes, they do have Starbucks. People are on this thing where social thing where they have to show off that they can afford Starbucks. So
okay.
Okay. All right. So instant coffee at Starbucks. That's the status quo.
That's
for coffee.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. I mean, look, I'm not gonna shit on instant coffee. I used to drink Cafe Bustelo, the instant espresso.
No.
All the time.
Garbage, trash tier.
I don't think it's that bad. I think it's one of the best. I think Cafe Bustelo is probably the upper tier of instant coffee. And that's when I was in college. I would or even in the evenings when I was before I had an espresso machine and wanted to make cappuccinos in the evenings. That's what I would drink. I would just warm up some water, put the instant espresso in there, and then add some cream, and it actually came out just fine. It was actually very good. So not here to shit on instant coffee. I think it's
Have you had an espresso? the Nespresso instant coffee by any chance?
No. Oh no, I have. My mom gave it to me one time. I thought it was okay. I actually think Cafe Bustelo is better.
I think if it's trash. I think all this instant coffee stuff is terrible.
You're so bougie. That's a problem.
This is coming from the guy who just started grinding his own beans last week.
Yeah, we out here. We out here. But the Nespresso, man, that's what my parents always drank growing up. They still drink it. Like that's their go-to. They have instant coffee. Like it's just what they do.
Yeah.
And it's what they like. And that is like, I don't know what it is about that instant coffee that I really, really like. It's like nostalgic almost because I drank it as a kid.
So you do like the Nespresso instant coffee?
I do, but I feel like it's not it's not as good as like, some of the other coffee. Like now switching to drip, like, I mean, like,
Oh yeah.
I think it's better, but it's like nostalgic. Like it's got that nostalgic taste. I don't know.
I get that. Yeah.
You're progressing. I kind of like that. It's interesting. What's next? Crack?
Oh yeah.
Crack.
So, that covers the coffee segment.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of started getting into at the end there, like the day-to-day at the Philippines. You wake up, you have a breakfast, which usually consists of what you're talking about: some instant coffee, some hot dogs, and something
Spam.
whatever spam.
Rice.
Tell us more about
Spam
that.
and rice, baby.
Spam
So
rice.
a normal day for a Filipino, correct?
Yeah.
Let's say, okay. So I'll use my cousin for an example. He's he does IT, like cybersecurity. So when I was there, I went to visit him back in 2017. He was working for a company in Manila. He lives like, if I base it miles on miles, it's 15 miles away from his job. All right.
Oh wow. Okay.
So he would wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning. His mom would have food for him. Typical Filipinos still living with their parents. That's normal. And
how old's your cousin?
my cousin is 20. He was 24, I think, 23 when I visited.
Okay.
In 2017. Yeah. So his mom would have his food ready. He would sit down with him in the mornings, talk to him for a little bit. And I was just watching it like, okay, so he leaves like 4 a.m. He wakes up at 3, eats, gets ready until it's 4. He leaves. He doesn't get to work until like 6 or 7 a.m. So yeah, this is public transportation.
Okay.
So you have to give 2 to 3 hours between your job to get to where you're supposed to go. So I was like, okay. And then, so I went to sleep, and then I woke up at around 5 p.m. I was like, where's Michael at? That's his name, Michael. And then my aunt was like, oh, he's still at work. I was like, until when? Well, he gets home around midnight.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I was like, how does he do that? What? How does he get enough sleep? Oh, he sleeps in the Jeep. Well, that's what the public transportation is called. It's called jeepneys. And they're like buses, but there's no AC. You're like packed like a sardines in the back.
Like a school bus.
And then no, there's worse than a school bus because you're side by side, everyone. Yeah, it's just big row. It's a big row. Yeah, it's just a row, and you get this much space. And there's a bar on top that you could hold on to whenever the driver's going too fast. And a lot of people use that as like a resting area. So you put your head and you sleep for a couple hours because your stop is so far out. And there's been times where my cousin would go past his stop, and he would go an hour past his stop, and he would wake up like, oh shit, I went too far, and then he would have to ride back home. And he said that's happened so many times.
Wow.
Actually. So yeah, that's a day-to-day. I'm not sure if it's a Monday through Friday for everyone, because one of my nieces works for the bank and she works Monday to Saturday.
Okay, so that's interesting. So the infrastructure in the Philippines can support a lot of these different jobs. You have someone that you know that works at a bank, someone that you know that works in cybersecurity. So
Yes.
these I'll call them white collar jobs. They're pretty common in the Philippines.
Yeah, they're very common. In terms of jobs, I feel like so many people are trying to do entrepreneurship, but they don't know how to do it. You know,
Yeah.
it's everyone's trying to open a store. This is like a store in front of your house. It's not even an official store where you're in a commercial area. No, just like, hey, I need like 10 grand, which is like $200 in the Philippines and $200 here, and then you just start your own store. It doesn't work out, you start a new business plan. It's like, it's a cycle. It's a constant cycle of trying to be,
That's where you get the best
have
stuff.
that freedom.
though. In front of
Exactly.
somebody's-
Crack. Hey, y'all got some crack. Anyway, so
Welcome to my shop.
Yeah, it's so bad. And like I mentioned earlier, my cousin takes hours to get to his job. The reason why there's so much traffic is because those jeepneys, they're private companies owned by the drivers.
Oh.
So everyone wants to have one. If it's like, I would say, oh, you don't like your job that you're doing now, you don't like your corporate job, any job that you don't like, and you're like, I want to work for myself and I want to just drive all day, buy a Jeep.
Okay, so it's like Uber, but you're driving a bus, and so a bunch
Uber,
of people
but you're
are
driving
doing
a
it.
bus, and there's no limit. There's just, they're everywhere, and they don't know how to drive.
No
They
regulation?
park everywhere. Yes, nothing.
So these aren't this is not an actual bus system.
No,
It's-
these are not. The only thing they provide, the government does provide, is like a train. That's it. Everything else is private. They have a Jeep and they have a tricycle, like you know that what do you call that ride from Universal with Hagrid? The Hagrid ride with the actual motorcycle and then
the sidecar, yeah.
yeah. Oh, there's thousands, probably millions of those in the Philippines, and that's
a
what
big leap.
causes all. Yep, and they don't care. They will go on the highway. They will go on the highway.
Huh.
And yes.
So
what about
is-
like what about like regular mopeds?
Oh, that's
the
people
moped.
would rather have regular mopeds than a regular car because they can get around better.
Yeah.
And it's like people flex their scooters, and everyone has a scooter, at least one per household.
Okay.
At least one, yes, to get around.
So is car ownership not very common in the Philippines? Do people just not? Is it an affordability thing, or they just would prefer not to own a car to get to and from work, or get groceries or whatever they have to do? It sounds like a lot of people just use these jeepneys or mopeds.
Yeah, because you're gonna sit in traffic anyway. Yeah. So I know a few people with cars. They use their cars to, of course, go to and from work. It's also a social status in terms of it doesn't matter what kind of car you have. As long as you have a car, that's a plus 5. If you have a nice car, that's a plus 20.
Okay.
Obviously, so it's one of those things where it's like, but there's practical people, or it's all practicality, where it's the same from here to my job, a car or a Jeep. Might as well get a Jeep. No point in getting a car. Just buy a scooter or a moped to get around. There's people like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
it really just depends.
well, I mean, naturally, a car. If you drove your own car, you would probably get to work faster because you're not making stops all the time. That would be my. If I were to get a car in the
Yeah.
Philippines, that's what I would be worried about, just
Yeah.
saving time, right?
But the problem is, here's one. The problem is these jeepneys, they don't stop on the side of the road. They stop in the middle of the road to pick
So
people up.
okay, so every stop, so the jeepney stop is everyone's stop on the highway.
Yeah. I would say, yep. Because
Wow.
it's so congested. They just you can't just pull off on on the side, because there's already people parked on the lane all the way to the right. They use it as a parking spot.
So there's just
Yes.
no
Yeah. Nope.
So what
Control.
do you do if they're driving down the highway, and you want to get off? Like, what do you do? You just like
You flick the ceiling, which is what I do, or you say para, which is like stop.
okay, and they'll stop.
Oh, so there's no
Yeah.
little rope or anything. There's no.
Oh, no rope. No, you gotta flick hard. Just Fucking get me out this bitch. It's hot. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah. It's a good experience.
So, more along the day-to-day in the Philippines, how is the we talked about public transport. What's the just general infrastructure like over there in terms of access to water, access to electricity? Are there parts of the country that just still struggle with that, or is it pretty much mostly a developed infrastructure over there? Because the way you're making it sounds like the roads aren't really governed or
they're not great.
Yeah,
they're developed, but no one's policing them. No one cares about the police. They're not even scared of the cops over there.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of the infrastructure, the main city is developed. There will be times where the electricity goes out, and but everything is accessible.
It's no different than Texas.
There's
I thought they were the same place.
I thought we were talking about Texas here. Yeah, it's running on 5 generators, the whole city. So there's been places where they don't run on electricity. They get water from the main city, and then they bring it back to the islands.
Okay.
So this is one of the islands in the south, the very last island in the Philippines, which is one of the mainlands. And then from there, you take a boat into one of the smaller islands, and there's people there. There's people living there. Their houses are not even made of cement. There's just straight. They call it kubo, which is like, I think, straws. So straws and wood. So it's solid enough for them. They would go fishing during the day. And in terms of electricity, there is no electricity. They don't need. They know what phones are. They know what those things are. It's just like, it's never gonna make it here. You might as well just give up.
That's like the rural parts of the Philippines. So is that a large amount of the population that lives there, or is it just like a very small minority, kind of like how we have
Texas.
Yeah, kind of like how we have Texas,
Hawaii.
No, how there's some groups of people in the United States, for example, like the Amish, that decide to live like that. Is it kind of like a similar situation, or is it like the whole island is like that, where it's not really much of a choice? That's just the way it is.
That's just the way it is. I would say that island is half of that is my mom's, so she just lets people do what they want to do. She doesn't care about the island very much. She's not gonna sell it. She just wants to hold it. So I believe
Wait
in terms.
Yeah. His mom owns the island.
Yeah, my mom. It was because my mom is the oldest out of all the siblings. It was her grandfather that gave it to her.
The island.
So my great grandfather. Yes.
That people live on.
And the people.
The people came with it. It's like
how many people live on this island?
About 1,500 people.
Wow.
Yeah, it's and there's 7,000 islands in the Philippines, so you can expect a lot of islands like that.
But 1,500 people live on the island that your family
on that
owns.
island specifically, yes.
Yeah. So do they pay taxes, or do they?
Nope, nothing. That's why they love it there. Why would they move if life is so simple? They just go fishing. They sell the fish in the marketplace, and it's like they need money and all that stuff. It comes from the island itself. My mom was like, I'm not, because I asked my mom, hey, why don't you, do something with the island? She was like, no, those people will come after me with pitchforks if I do. So just leave them be. Let them do their thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can. That's extremely respectable. I mean, I'm hoping it's more not out of fear, but more out of graciousness that she's, more like, hey.
Oh yeah, it's gracious. It's
Yeah.
graciousness. I'm pretty sure she just doesn't want to deal with the headache.
Yeah.
It's just like, just leave it be. I don't want to deal with it. I got more things going on in my life.
It's probably honestly, you'll probably make more spending your time elsewhere in that regard.
Yeah,
So that makes
exactly.
sense. That's really interesting. I had no idea that you're. I mean, I know we're gonna get into
Talking
this.
royalty, man.
Yeah, we're gonna get into this in a
no,
little
not
bit.
at all. Just lucky. It's weird. It's weird. My family dynamics are weird.
We're gonna get into it a little bit later about the real estate situation in the Philippines, but we're gonna save that for a little bit later. You said so in parts of the Philippines, like on these remote islands, the mainland seems to support electricity and
Yes, absolutely,
and water, running water. How about internet? How's the internet situation over there?
So that one, I think it's just controlled by lobbyists, just like everyone, like, oh, as long as I have my company, no one else can have, other companies built around it. So
very monopolized in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. They can complain all they want, but and there's complaints all the time. Celebrities complain about it, but only celebrities are prioritized, because they don't want bad publicity from a celebrity.
Right.
So yeah, and so my friends that are from the Philippines, they don't get the attention they need to get the Wi-Fi, the living situation better, because they're poor people. Who cares about them? It's common to not have Wi-Fi for a whole day.
That's always not fun. Okay, that's interesting. So, it sounds, it doesn't sound like if you live on the mainland, you probably are your day-to-day doesn't sound that much different than someone else in the U.S. But if you live on one of these remote islands, then you're living a different life.
You live a different life. Yeah.
Do you have any?
Probably don't have signal. You're looking at the water all day long, and yeah, it's.
So do you have any
lifestyle?
Like where you said you grew up in Manila? Is there any stories from just growing up that you want to share about just growing up in this kind of different world?
There's a lot. There's this.
Pick one.
Tell us about the frogs. Share the frogs.
Okay, so when I was younger, this was before I went to New York. So I was like, actually before and after, because my friends, we kind of like, hey, let's catch frogs again. Okay, sounds good. So in the Philippines, we do a lot of fishing. If you live by the farms, you're a kid. Internet wasn't a thing back then. You had computers, but there were a bunch of offline games like Diablo and a bunch of you can just get on it. You can play solitaire for God
Pinball,
knows why.
Space Cadet.
Yeah, pinball, exactly. It doesn't matter. You it's a computer. It's awesome. You play on it.
Yeah.
And you want to play on it, but you don't have the money to play on it. So what you do is you find a hustle on the side. But as a kid, there's not much you can do. Everyone is poor, right? So you go to businesses, and there's a lot of restaurants around that's like, okay, we want cheap protein. Just give us whatever you can get. We'll buy it. Okay. So as kids, me and my friends and I would go to the farms and would just start fishing for frogs, right? So we would, to start fishing for frogs, first we need a piece of branch, doesn't matter. A piece of branch, a string, and a snail. Very important, you need a snail. Because the snail is what you use to bait the frog. I would get the fish hooks, but I don't like the fish hooks very much. I would say they're a pain in the ass, because with the snail, you just yank it from the frog's mouth. If it doesn't get yanked, you just cut the string, and that's it. Take your losses with the snail and just grab a new one. So you would go in the farms with with your fishing rod, with your snail, and a piece of wire on hand, like a wire like that, just exactly like that. So you would sit there for it depends sometimes. Sometimes you can get a frog in between 30 seconds, or you wait 20 minutes to an hour not getting any. It really just depends. So on a regular day, I'd say 4 to 5 frogs, just enough to play for an hour at the computer shop. So I would fish for frogs. The way you catch these frogs, very simple. You catch one, they swallow the snail, you pull it, you try to grab the frog out. Okay, I got the frog in my hands. Then you break their legs, both their legs. Okay, you break both of their legs.
Those frogs up, man.
Yeah, you It's so bad because now I think about it, you can hear them cry.
Okay.
Oh God.
You can hear them cry.
All right,
It's
so
a squeaking noise.
That's
It's
just
so sad.
apologies for anyone who might be
I'm sorry,
get
I'm sorry,
get
yes, I live in the
triggered
third
by
world
any of these
country.
descriptions.
I
I
needed
still want
to
to hear
pay.
them. I think
Wait.
it's good to hear this kind of stuff because it helped bring perspective on what it's like to live in a country like this, where this is commonplace. This is not something that you should shy away from. So just if you're get queasy about something, talking about stuff like this, maybe you should skip this part of the podcast. But please continue. I am actually still genuinely curious.
I have another question about that though. Like, if you had to, put an estimate on how many legs you've broken in your lifetime,
I would say a few hundred. I wouldn't go past 500.
500 frogs' legs.
Okay, so you've gotten a lot of. You've done this a lot. You've
I've done
fishing
this.
for frogs.
Yeah.
And,
It's a simple process, Catch frog, break their legs, sell them. That's it. You make
and you sell
make
the
money.
You sell the leg specifically, right? You're not actually selling.
No, you sell the whole frog.
The whole frog, okay.
You break their legs so that they don't run away. But you also break their legs because you put it through this wire. It sounds so bad.
Oh
You
my
put it through the wire.
God.
Let's hear it.
Holy shit.
You put it through the wire, and then that's how you stack them. That's how you have them all day long.
I think I've seen that before, where you have
Yeah.
you string them up,
exactly.
right? Yeah, it's like stringing up a fish, like stringing up all the fish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I used to just wrap it because I felt bad, but it kept slipping off. So I was like, all right, let me just punch through it. And
Hey.
it's like,
You gotta do what you gotta do. I mean, it makes.
I'm sorry, Peter.
Hey, it's PETA. I
gonna-
feel like doesn't really understand the living situations of some people. So,
We're gonna get very interesting phone calls after this.
But anyway, yeah, that was a gist of my childhood. That's just selling something, having enough money to play video games, and then rinse repeat. Of course, I was in school, but that's what I did on weekends.
Right.
And that's what I did on if I was really itching for that Diablo,
Yeah, I totally get that one. That's a good anecdote for. It's like I never did anything like that. I never had to go out and find something to sell to provide this service for myself. That was not part of my childhood, so I think that's pretty interesting to hear when people have to do that. I used to fish for fun, but I never had to go through the primal breaking of frog legs and essentially
It's easy. They break easy, by the way.
I'm sure they do.
So they're like that. You just go the other way, bro. Okay. It's just like.
It's you're basically hunting. Honestly.
I didn't. Now that I think about it, I was hunting, but it was just.
It's a small.
It was almost fun.
Small
Yeah,
prey.
it was fun when you're with your friends and you all want to play together,
I feel like you probably felt pretty productive at that time. And
it was great. It was great, honestly.
That's do you have any other more interesting
Tamed stories?
Anything like that's a little bit more.
How about this? What's your most fond memory of the Philippines? Like when you think back on your childhood, what's one of those things that comes to mind? Like I couldn't replace that in any other kind of way growing up.
It's gonna sound so bad, but so in the Philippines, I told you about those little stores that everyone has in front of their houses, right? It's a small startup, so they sell liquor, right? They don't ID you. Hey, you're my neighbor. You want this? Okay, here you go. It's for your dad. All right. So my friends and I would go to the liquor store and buy beer. And this is we were 10, 11, 12. So we would buy beer. We would find a spot in the farm where we would just sit down, hang out. One of our friends was a smoker at that age. He was already smoking. He was 1 year older than me.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was always trying to get us to smoke, but we're like, nah, It's not worth it. We tried it. It's not fun. No, thank you. So yeah, there's been times where I think the best one was that we went drinking one night, and we went to this girl's house. It was 3 girls, 4 guys. It was just to drink, nothing crazy. But one of the girl and one of the guy was dating. But we would go there and drink for like until 6 a.m. We would start at 10 at night and then go till 6 a.m. just sitting down drinking. And this went on for a few weeks until one night we went there and they had dogs. I was fine with dogs, mind you. I love dogs. But they invited us at the wrong time because they were feeding the dogs. And the dog bowls were beside each other, and the middle was the front door. So I was like, okay, let me just go through. But the dog was eating and started growling.
Oh.
So it started growling. I was like, and then they were like, it's fine, just come. I was like, no, I don't think so. And then both dogs jumped on me.
Oh.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah, it jumped on me, and I'm not gonna say the part that it bit because it's a podcast, but yeah, it bit me pretty hard.
I don't mean to laugh. Yeah.
It was bad. It was to the point where I had to go to the bathroom and had my friend checked. Hey, can you check if it's bleeding? And he was like, it's good. It's not bleeding, but there's a big indent of the canines on it.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, and that was it. I was done with dogs. But that night was so fun because I was in pain. I was crying my ass off, and I was just drinking like, fuck this shit hurts. But you know,
damn.
And you're
do you
only
still,
like,
do you still have that scar now?
no, I don't. But
you said it didn't scar because it didn't break skin. It just
it didn't break skin.
Okay.
This was after I was circumcised, so it was like,
gotcha.
Yeah.
So I guess we now know what part the dog bit.
Yeah.
But so
that's also one of the things, by the way. I before I forget to mention, this is one of the culture-wise, you know.
Hmm.
And if you know how some kids are born, you know, and they get circumcised, right?
Yeah.
It's optional. Some parents don't do it, some do it. In the Philippines, you're born, you don't get circumcised right away. They wait until you're ready, and that's your test of manhood.
Oh.
Yeah, and this is at a young age. This is not at the age of 14, 15. You get this done at 12, 11.
But you still remember. You still remember.
I remember. Oh, I was wide awake. I was right there
fuck.
looking at it. Yeah, it's definitely interesting and nerve-wracking at the same time, and it's just like it's mind-blowing how they still do it.
That's a cultural phenomenon indeed.
Fuck.
It is a cultural phenomenon. There's the old-fashioned way, and there's like the doctor's way. I would never want to do the old-fashioned way. I did the doctor's way.
I hope so.
My brother did the old-fashioned way.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Explain the difference. What's the difference between the two?
Of course, your old-fashioned way, more of a sit down, bite on this piece of wood, and just tough it out.
And then they pull out the stone. It's just like a sharp stone, and then they just start carving them.
Oh, fuck.
It's either a machete or a blade. Yes, it's a machete. I'm not even lying to you. It's a machete.
I trust me. I don't.
It's
think
a
you're
big
lying.
knife. I think they use it for the weight. They need the weight on there, so it's like.
So just one. Okay.
Dude,
Anyway.
if I saw anybody have a
It's three hits. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. All right.
Fuck.
Okay, so that's a traditional way. Okay.
I got you. Yeah.
And then the doctors is you go there, you get numbed, and then they do the whole process, and then you're done.
That makes more sense. Yeah, I think.
What do the doctors use to cut it? Like just a normal blade?
Oh, it's they use a clamp, the clamp-looking scissors.
Yeah. Like I know.
And they clamp it, and then once it's really numb from the anesthesia and the clamp, they just cut it and then they stitch it back.
Oh, I'm getting like.
Yeah. Why do you keep asking him questions about this, Kevin?
I'm like, because I'm curious, dude. Like, Dude, you know those memes, bro, when she steals your hoodie and doesn't give it back? Like, I just imagine Jordan's face, dude. He's like the poster child, bro.
Oh my! And it's a guy stealing your hoodie. It's an old man stealing your hoodie. It's not even like an attractive lady.
So similarly to how you had that dog experience, actually, I had a similar dog experience when I was growing up, where one day I was younger than you, I guess at the time. I was only about 4 or 5, and I came out. We lived in a townhouse, and came outside of my patio, and my neighbors. She had some very aggressive dogs. Usually, when the dogs were out or she had the gate open, my parents would keep us inside. So I came outside, and I was using like a wooden spoon or something. And I was pretending it was like a sword. So I was just playing with myself, like by myself. I was like pretending I had a sword. I was like doing all this waving
Crazy
around.
moves.
Yeah.
Okay.
The legend he is today.
And yeah, that's how I honed my skills with the sword. So then I noticed that her gate was open. And I was like, oh, I think I'm supposed to go inside now. Like I'm not supposed to be outside if that gate's open. And then as I was looking over there, her aggressive, it was like a bulldog or something, it just started, just.
Dude, you have your spoon, man. Like, what the fuck?
It started sprinting at me, and keep in mind, I am tiny. I'm super tiny right now, and this dog is at least 70 pounds, something like that.
Fuck.
And the dog tackles me to the floor and starts biting me. And I turn around before he tackles me, so he knocks me down like on my face, and he bites my ass.
Oh god.
And at that point I'm yelling and stuff, and my mom and dad come out, they get the dog off me, and then the lady comes out and gets the dog off me. My dad's pissed, obviously. They bring me inside, and the neighbor comes inside to see what damage has been done.
And you're on your property, right? Like this is
yeah, this is
your
right
house.
This is like right side of a townhouse. And yeah, I have a scar on my ass from this dog bite. And I was scared of dogs for years and years after that. I did not fuck with dogs.
It's really traumatizing.
Yeah. So you're not alone.
I was gonna ask, like, yeah, like, how are you guys now with dogs? Like, are you okay? Like, are you still like?
Yeah, I'm good with dogs now.
I'm finicky about dogs. It's like
you get that little.
I see a big dog, I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, fuck, maybe reach out, like start shaking a little bit.
He's shaky. That is shaky.
A little wiggle.
I get a rise of anxiety a little bit when I see like Jeremy was saying, like big dogs. When I kind of was forced to overcome a large part of my fear of large dogs when I met Michael, because he has a bunch of them.
Yeah, all his dogs are big.
Yeah, so whenever I go to his house, I would feel pretty anxious. But you get over it once you're kind of exposed. You force yourself to expose to this situation. So I don't really mind dogs at all anymore. If I see a dog that I feel like is aggressive or like being aggressive, I will not fuck with it. I'll probably just exit the situation immediately, because I know how much damage they can do. But anyway, so you're not alone. I was also did not have a happy experience with a dog.
Raped.
Yeah.
That's raped by a dog.
Yeah. So I am curious though, back to the Philippines. How do you feel about the current political climate within the Philippines and the extreme drug crackdown that I think it's President, correct me if I'm wrong, Duterte? That he's been enforcing across the country. I mean, from what I hear, he's pretty much just executing drug dealers at this point, and without trial.
Without trial.
Yeah, so it's pretty serious. And how do you feel about that?
It's the way he does things. I feel like it's so inefficient. since the Philippines, there's a term for it. I forgot the term. You mix government with religion.
Oh yeah,
It becomes a shit show.
yes,
A complete shit show.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's oh man, I'm forgetting the actual proper name for that.
Yeah, there's a proper name.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah. It's a
So,
religious-based,
what are,
religious-based
like,
government.
What are the like main? Before you get into it, what are the main like drugs that come from the Philippines? Like, is there like anything they're like particularly like known for? Like, are they? Like,
It's mostly weed. The area the place that I grew up with my dad in, like in the Philippines, it's not really a good area. So that part I know for sure they sell cocaine. And there's people that died, like people I know that died because they were dealers and things went south. And yeah, so that part for sure, cocaine. And I know there's been areas with weed. I knew a few dealers when I was younger because one of my friends would buy weed all the time, and it was, yeah. I feel like weed should not be a problem in the Philippines. It should just be okay. Let's tax it. Let's crack down on the harder stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, everyone can be bought with money though. That's the only problem in the Philippines.
Right.
So it's like if you're a dealer, you have money, pay off the cops. Thank you, goodbye. You know.
Yeah. So, for the uninformed, basically, the government policy right now in the Philippines is for any drug dealer, I guess, reported or discovered by the government. They bring the hammer down, and more than just the hammer, it's very likely that you will either be spending the rest of your life in jail, or just a lot of times they just execute you, so that they don't have to deal with it. That you're not taking up space
they don't
in
have to
jail.
feed you in jail.
Yeah. Save money essentially. And it's serious.
It's bad. It's bad. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's up to the government's discretion. A lot of times, people, from what I've read, won't even. Maybe they were just a user; they weren't even dealing it, and then they get treated like a drug dealer, and boom, you're gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There was also a Korean on vacation. He was framed for selling drugs, but he wasn't. I feel like the main issue would be the reward system. There's a reward
For
if you
reporting,
find
right?
a dealer. Yep.
Yeah.
For just
wow.
hey, that guy sells drugs. Oh, he has drugs on him. All right, here's your money, and we kill the guy or put him in prison.
what's the reward like exactly?
Back-
Did you get
back-
like a ballpark?
Back when I read it, I believe it was 120,000 pesos, which would be like $2,200, $250. $2,250, which is a lot of money.
That's
Yeah,
a lot.
it's
That's
a lot of
in the
money.
Philippines, yeah.
That's a lot of money. Like average income in a household would be like 30 grand a month.
It's like
So
one of
40
those.
grand. That's enough. That's a lot of money.
In
and-
pesos, that's 30.
Yeah,
40
that's in
grand
pesos. Yeah, you make a lot of money, and it's like you expose someone in poverty to that much money. Is like just hearing that you wanna just
Change your life.
That sounds really fucking good. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of money. I can do a lot with that money. Now let's find a victim.
Right. It's like that situation where, like, would you push this button that kills somebody for $10,000, right?
Yeah, and you don't know. Yeah, someone in
yeah.
the world. Yeah, you just press it.
Yeah. Except in this case, you know exactly who you're about to kill because you're pointing them out,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So-
exactly.
Yeah. So I was curious about your experiences with all that, and it's definitely an issue in the Philippines. And Duterte has gotten a lot of criticism over the last years of this policy being in place. I haven't heard about it recently, so
Just
I don't know.
China. Because China is the only problem right now.
Yeah.
They
So
switch focus.
yeah, pretty much, right? But I'm curious as to where that will be in a few years, and how the government hopefully will shift out of that mindset, because it's obviously not very constructive in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it's. I think they should just nuke the Philippines. Just start over.
Oh my God!
At
Okay.
this point. I've
Except
pitched
the
that
island-
idea
except
to
the island that
Fallon
your mom
multiple
owns, right?
times. Yeah. How about we evacuate everyone to China because apparently we're the province. We're China's province. That's what they're saying.
Oh, is that
so?
that?
Let's evacuate. Yeah, that's the problem. The Filipinos don't like that. So let's evacuate everyone to China, nuke Manila, and all the crappy streets, rebuild it, and then we can have a decent system with good public transportation, better healthcare for sure, and it's like just more efficient.
Right. Yeah. And that kind of gets into the idea of real estate in the Philippines. I know you just purchased some land out there.
Beachfront, baby.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that. Yeah.
So my uncle pitched this idea to my brother. Hey, I know someone's selling a big piece of beachfront property in the third island, 30 minutes from the main city that we're living in, from his place. I was like, my brother's like, I'm not interested. Maybe Jordan would be. So he pitched the idea to me. I was like, okay, sounds good. How much would it cost? And then he said $7,000 for the whole thing. And this is acres and acres of just beachfront and like uphill. You can build like a nice house on top if you want to, overlooking the sea.
It was like 50 acres or something, right?
Yeah. And I was like, okay, give me a week. I'll have everything ready. We'll send it to you. Just buy it. The only thing is that since we are U.S. citizens, none of us are dual citizens. It has to be under someone's name in the Philippines. So that's another, make sure if you're buying a place in the Philippines, you either have to be a citizen or you have to know a good, like a reliable person.
Someone to trust, yeah.
Someone to trust, especially, like family members, definitely a family member, and still do a contract, because you can't really trust anyone that fully, They can just sell it and just go on with their life, go missing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially when you can't really check in on the property regularly because you're across the world. Yeah. So it makes sense.
Exactly. So that's one of those.
We'll have to go visit your property, man.
Yeah. Bro, any development?
I'll have a couple of properties. Not right now. He just went to check on it the other day to make sure everything is good. They're cleaning it up. But yeah, my plan is to have a nice vacation house there, overlooking the property. It's just that it's so far from Manila. I'd have to take a plane to get there.
Wow.
So yeah, my
Probably
plan
no
is
internet.
Manila though. I like Manila.
No internet, no running water yet.
Once Bitcoin hits 150K, maybe I'll have internet, water, Wi-Fi.
Yeah, but I'm sure you can get something out there with like a satellite or something, Satellite.
My own satellite, that would be nice.
I think it's doable.
I already know Kevin would live there, 100%.
Oh yeah, 100%.
100%. Kevin would be there.
I don't even need internet or running water, man. I don't need any of those things. I'll go hang out on the beach and fish and be chilling.
What's that movie with Tom Hanks?
Castaway.
Oh, the coconut?
Yeah, the Castaway. He'd be Castaway, just like
Wilson.
Wilson. But it's not Wilson. It's Roland. Roland. Roland has paint on his face like Wilson. But yeah, it's the next couple of years will be interesting for sure.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see how it develops, and I for sure want updates on the progress there because I find that extremely interesting. But yeah, honestly, that covers pretty much all the points I wanted to hit with you. If you have anything to add, or Kevin, if you have any questions that you would want to throw out there.
Of course. I'd love to ask you, man, what your favorite dinosaur is.
My favorite dinosaur is what was that? The fast ones. Velociraptors? The raptors.
Everybody fucking loves those things, man.
So
they're so sick.
Sick. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Yeah. So we've talked about this on the podcast before about how they're actually the size of like turkeys. Like they're pretty
chickens.
Small. They're like chickens. They're what, like a foot, 2 feet?
If
Ooh,
that.
I would love to have one of those. Yeah, that'd be sick though.
Okay, so you're still you would still
Oh,
try to.
100%.
You're
They're
still in it,
sick.
okay.
Yeah. Unless you can find me a hybrid with a T-Rex and a Velociraptor merged together.
They have there is a cousin. We confirmed there is a cousin. I don't know the name of it exactly. It's some scientific name or whatever. But the there is like a movie Velociraptor version that is a cousin to the actual Velociraptor.
Pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Wow.
Cool, man.
What did you pick, Kevin? Land Before Time dinosaur?
No, I said the same thing. I said Velociraptor, but I meant I like the cousin. I'm like a fan of the cousin, the big.
Hey,
the big
anyone's
boy.
cousin you would date, huh?
Okay.
All right.
That's shade. All right, get this guy out of here. Get him off.
Oh my god, this
unless,
guy, you got a cousin?
Unless you have any other questions, Kevin, I'm all set.
it's
If you wanted to give us any parting words, Jordan, anything you wanted to say before we end it here.
Yes, Bitcoin goes up most of the time. It does go down sometimes, but more importantly, it goes up. Buy Bitcoin.
Okay,
Bitcoin.
so we have our crypto shill. We will. So in the future, we will have another episode on crypto, and Jordan is actually very much into cryptocurrency. We'll definitely have him on for that one.
The crypto king himself.
We avoided that topic because we know how much of a rabbit hole that'll be. But
Yeah.
we'll eventually we'll go on crypto again, and we'll have a few different faces on for that episode. But that does wrap up our international episode today with the Philippines, and hopefully gave everyone who might be listening a bit more of a perspective outside of their own bubble, what it's like to live in a country outside of wherever you live.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, really.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And we know it was last minute, so it was always nice to. It was very nice of you to make the time to come on, especially kind of in the morning like this. So, thanks again. We'll talk soon, and thank you for everyone listening. If you liked the episode, please leave a comment. Let us know what you'd like to hear next, or if you have any ideas, love to hear those as well. But that's it for us today. Thanks for joining us on your coffee break. Catch you next time.